All right, so let me walk you through my infographic about dental caries, which is a bacterial infection followed by disease of the mouth. So I'm going to zoom in on my infographic and we'll head up to the top. So dental caries is, again, an infection of the mouth that leads to a disease, dental caries, which we know as cavities. Two organisms contribute primarily to the development of dental caries, Streptococcus mutans and Streptococcus sobrinus. So these two oral microbes cause cavities. These two microbes are endogenous to our mouth, so it's completely normal to have them. We all have them, but they can lead to tooth decay and the development of cavities. So if we learn about them, it makes sense that they live in the mouth. They have an optimal growth temperature of 37 degrees. That's our mouth. They thrive in slightly acidic environments, so pH of about 6.3. Our mouth is just slightly acidic. By living in the mouth, they're exposed to abundant food sources, so this makes the mouth a really great habitat for these microbes. Now let's think about what they do that causes cavities. So the first thing that happens is that these microbes contribute to biofilm formation. So biofilm is just when a bunch of different kinds of bacteria stick together on a surface, and they help one another grow on that surface. So let's think about how these two microbes cause biofilms to form. So Strep sobrinus and Strep mutans, they're both capable of doing this thing where they convert sucrose, so sugar we eat from our food, into a sticky polymer called a glucans. So basically, these bacteria are in our mouth, and these bacteria grab the sucrose that we eat, and they turn it into a glue that they use to help them stick to the surface of your tooth. The surface of our tooth is a really smooth environment. That enamel is a really hard place to stick. So this is a really key characteristic for these microbes, and why they're able to form this biofilm on your tooth and eventually cause cavities. So the glucans help these two microbes stick to your tooth, but many other microbes will stick as well in that biofilm with these two Streptococcus species. So some lactobacillus and many others. Our mouth is full of lots of different kinds of bacteria. So they're growing on the enamel, and we call this biofilm plaque. The plaque we get on our teeth is a biofilm, and it's caused by these two bacteria. So these two bacteria normally live in our mouth. They can do this. They have this capability converting sucrose into glucans to stick to the tooth enamel. But why do they cause the tooth enamel to decay? So let's think about this next step, acid production. So we've got all these bacteria living on the surface of our tooth, both these Streptococcus species and other things like lactobacillus. We are eating foods which include sugars, and they're grabbing those sugars as food for themselves. We know that bacteria do fermentation on foods, and when bacteria do fermentation, they create lactic acid waste. So we've got all these bacteria living together in this biofilm. They're all fermenting sugars and producing acid waste byproducts. And that acid is trapped in the biofilm up against the enamel surface of your tooth, and the acid itself begins to degrade the surface of the tooth, leading to tooth decay, and we get a cavity. So, pretty simple story. These microbes always live in our mouths. They convert some sugars that we eat, sucrose specifically, into glucans to form this biofilm plaque on our teeth. And then they ferment sugars, producing acid. The acid breaks down the enamel of our tooth. We have a cavity. So what can we do to prevent that? Well, of course, if we brush our teeth, we can remove that plaque. They're not constantly depositing acid onto the enamel of our tooth, and we'll avoid tooth decay. We could limit our dietary intake of sugar. If there's no sucrose, they can't make the glucans and they can't stick. If there's not all sorts of other sugar, they have no food to ferment and they can't make those acid byproducts. And then finally, we should visit the dentist. If they ever identify a little bit of decay in our enamel, they can remove any bacteria that are there. They can rebuild that with man-made polymers so that we can protect our tooth from further damage And the main thing here is to prevent that damage from breaking through the enamel and reaching the living tissue inside our tooth. That's when we'll lose teeth and have severe pain associated with this stuff. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope you find the infographic useful.